Good morning. Welcome to the garden. I'm glad you have swum your way in here today. And next time, bring your boat and bring some folks with you, so that'll help a little better. Before we get into the heart of the message, I want to share with you some news that I'm aware some of you know about. But for the last 10 plus years now, we have had a sister site at the mansion at Oak Hill in Carmel. And as of Tuesday, I guess, the 1st of October, that site has elected to separate from the garden and will be known as its own thing and move down a different direction than the way we're moving here at the garden. I would ask that you keep that congregation and its leadership in your prayers as they move forward. And at the same time, we would value your prayers for us here at the garden, because there's a lot of transition right now that we're going through, and that, as many of you know who've gone through different kinds of transitions, that's always a challenging time. So we certainly appreciate your prayers, but we're here, we'll be here, and hope you'll continue to join us. In thinking about the domino effect, you've had ample opportunities this morning to see several examples of what happens when that first domino falls, and then everything else that touches it or touches that which next to us falls as well. I find that whole thing fascinating. I don't know why it does that to me, but at first I always wonder how long it took somebody to set all those things up. And then I guess it's both an art and a science to make it happen. So I did a little research about the thing and discovered that the term, the domino effect, actually was coined by Dwight Eisenhower in 1954. It was probably most used with Vietnam, in the Vietnam War, because the comment was, if Vietnam fell to communism, then next would be Cambodia, and then Laos, and then all of Southeast Asia, thus turning into the domino effect. But there's a more basic definition of what that is, and you've heard a little bit of it in that last video, but I looked up Wikipedia, and this is what it said. It is a chain reaction that occurs when a small change causes a similar change nearby, which then causes another similar change. Well, that seems sort of complicated for my simple mind, and so I think it should be something a little easier than that, like something as little as a domino can affect all the other dominoes around it, or anything else around it for that matter. And you know, this whole concept, this whole idea has been proven scientifically. I don't understand this either, but I've read a number of times that, for example, if someone sneezes, the vibrations, the waves of that, or whatever it is, go all around the world. And we are so interconnected with one another that it affects us. It touches us in one way or another. Now, I started thinking, if that can be the case with something as small as a little domino, or as minor as a little sneeze, what about us as human beings? Is it possible that our words and our actions have an effect beyond us? Is there some way in what we do and what we say that it affects others even farther from us? Now, I think most of us realize, or at least most of us hope, to have a good influence and a positive effect on those closest to us. But we have to ask ourselves, how wide does that circle go? And if we do have this capacity to affect others in one way or another, how do we deal with that? Well, maybe the Bible passage we have for this morning is trying to get us pointed in the right direction. Now, this is from Matthew's Gospel. It occurs after there is this whole collection of some of the teachings of Jesus that we call the Sermon on the Mount. And this specific passage follows the part about the Beatitudes, the part that says, blessed are those who, whatever it might be. Let's look at it together, and then we'll try to figure out exactly what it's saying. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God. Now, in my study of this passage, one of the things I came to understand is that scholars believe the writer of Matthew's Gospel was actually talking to the church. Now, you understand, of course, that the church as we know it didn't exist when Jesus was alive. That was something that was founded later after the death of Jesus by his followers, who were called the followers of the way. But the writer of Matthew is writing, of course, after the death of Jesus, and is trying to address the people in the church and to remind them of what their mission is. And it's basically saying their mission is to help people come to know God, to share God's love in this world. He calls it being light bearers. That's the version from the Message, which I really like. Now, do you understand what that means if we're to be light bearers? Because it applies to you and me too. We are the church. People comprise the church. If we're going to be light bearers, that means that you and I carry the light of God's love everywhere we go in the world. And when we touch another person with this reality of God's love, and they touch another person, and they touch another person, we've got a domino effect going here. It's the domino effect of love. Now, all you have to do is look around to see that we as the church corporately and we as individuals haven't done a really good job at all this. If you look around in the world, we see a lot more hate than we do love. We see a lot more divisiveness than we do unity. We see a lot more contentiousness than we see collaboration. It seems that we've got a lot of work to do. So what does that mean? If you and I are to be light bearers, that's our mission. That's what we're about. If we're to be light bearers, how do we go about doing that? The Bible passage says we're to bring out the God colors in the world, and we're to let our light shine. So how does that happen? Where do we begin? You know, I think sometimes we complicate things way too much. It seems to me that it's much simpler than that. Maybe it begins with something as easy as kindness, something as simple as that. Every one of us has the capacity to be kind. All it is just say a smile and a gentle word to someone. You know, start with a stranger. Maybe it might be a good thing for us to think about what happens when we smile at someone. You know, I've been trying to do this kind of in my own little survey here, do this a lot more lately. I have to admit more than I guess I usually do. But I've been really paying attention. If you smile at someone, 9 times out of 10, if you catch their eye, they'll smile back. Now, it's not true of everybody, of course, because some people are deep in thought and some are preoccupied with a lot of issues going on in their own lives. But for the most part, if we smile and share that, it makes a difference, I think. I certainly know that I feel better when that happens. And who knows, maybe that person smiles to someone else, and that person then smiles at somebody else. And, well, it's that chain reaction. It's that whole thing happening again and again and again. So one of the simplest things we can do is just simply to be kind in the way we treat everyone, friend and stranger alike. There's something else, too, I think, that we can do to be light bearers in this world, and that is to treat every person we encounter with honor and respect. Now, as I said, sometimes we don't even notice the people in our world because we're so consumed with all of our own stuff, and we've all got stuff. We all carry that around. But everybody out there, everybody in this room, everybody everywhere is a child of God, a creation of God. And every single one of us carries the impression of who God is and what God is like. You know, it's said in the Celtic thought that if we look into the face of another human being, we are looking at the face of God. It makes a huge difference if we just simply remember that, if we think about that and realize that when we encounter another person, we are encountering God, a piece of God's creation. Now, let's take an example. Say, for instance, that we're having problems with somebody we work with or a supervisor at work. What do? How do we be light bearers in that kind of a situation? I think it begins with really trying to look at the person and pay attention to that person and to maybe realize that they're having problems, they have concerns, and it could be just simply a matter of acknowledging that or being willing to listen. The other thing we can do is certainly look for the good, because everybody has good about them. to look for that good and to find a way to affirm that and to praise what that is. But if we're going to be true light bearers and bring that into the world, we can change things wherever we are. You see, the reality is we are all part of families. We are teachers, we are coaches, we are students, we are doctors, we are nurses, we are employers, we're employees, we're friends, we're gardeners. Every one of us encounters other people. And every single one of us has the capacity to be kind and to love and honor and respect all of those, everyone that we encounter. We can do that. We can literally do that. Now, maybe it would help if we just thought about somebody that we might consider to be a light bearer in our lives. What are the characteristics? How do we know? Why would we say what we do? Well, I want to be sure that, I'm not talking about these Pollyanna-ish kinds of people. I'm talking about these people for whom everything is wonderful and everything's fun and they're always bouncy and smiling. I have trouble with that. I find it hard to take people seriously because nobody's like that all the time. But I'm talking about somebody who kind of is who they are. They're just themselves, and somehow they brighten the world when we're around them. It may not be anything they say or do, but just by their presence, you can see that they are themselves. They are true to who they are, and they are able to share that. There's almost like an energy that comes from that I don't know about you, but when I experience something like that, it really inspires me. It lifts me up and then makes me want to be different and makes me want to pass that same thing along. It's really an incredible kind of experience. But you know what? If we share a smile and a kind word or we honor and respect other people, we are those kind of light bearer people, I think it can make a difference around us. I think it can make a difference in us too. That's what the Dalai Lama said when he wrote these words. When we feel love and kindness toward others, it not only makes others feel loved and cared for, but it helps us also to develop inner happiness and peace. Well, the reality is what we're talking about here is some sort of, gigantic domino effect. It begins with our opening our hearts and minds and spirits and letting God's love get a hold of us. And then we can't keep that to ourselves. We want to share it. And so we're light bearers. We share this love with the others that we encounter. And they in turn share it with somebody else. And they in turn share it with somebody else. It is a domino effect. Now, some of you probably were here, a year and a half ago when Kevin Wanzer spoke on a Sunday morning. And at that time, he shared a poem he had written entitled, Choose to Love. As we thought about today's service and put that together, we thought especially the last 4 stanzas of it really fit with what we're talking about today. Look at it with me. It's on screen. And although for some it's hard to relate to the differences others endure, keep in mind there are certain choices that make you shallow or pure. You do choose to love or hate. You do choose to follow or lead. You do choose to embrace or ignore others in their time of need. Some things in life you cannot alter, but your attitude can change, it's true. And by doing so, you can affect the people who look up to you. The meaning of life is the greatest mystery of all, but the answer is easily found. It is unconditional love for all humankind who walk on our common ground. Well, who knows? If we choose to love, if we choose to be kind, if we choose to be respectful of others, we can create a domino effect. It starts with us, to create this domino effect of love.